Have you ever noticed that two people can go through the exact same situation but walk away with two completely different experiences? Like one person can go through something really difficult and their first thought is, why is this happening to me? Everything is falling apart. And another person can go through that same difficult situation and think, okay, this is hard, but what is this teaching me? What can I learn from this? How can I move through this? And what's interesting is the circumstances itself didn't change. The situation is still the situation, but the way that they're viewing it completely changes their experience. And I've been thinking about this a lot because I truly believe that perspective is everything. Not because we can control every single thing that happens to us, because we can't. Life is going to happen. Unexpected things are going to happen. There are going to be moments where we feel scared, confused, and unsure about what's going to happen next. But we do have a choice in how we interpret those moments. And sometimes that interpretation can be the difference between feeling completely consumed by a situation or finding some peace in the middle of it. Well, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Tierra and I help women regulate their nervous system, shift their mindset, and become the most aligned version of themselves from the inside out. So if you're ready to make that shift, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Now let's get into the video. In this video, I want to talk about perspective and how the way that we view the world can completely change the way that we experience our lives. And I want to start with a moment that honestly changed the way that I look at difficult situations. Because I think sometimes when we talk about mindset, we try to make it sound really simple by just saying, just think positive. But I don't think that's realistic. We're not supposed to walk through life pretending that everything is okay when it's not. I think that there's a difference between ignoring reality and choosing how you're going to move through reality. And I learned that during one of the most scariest moments of my life. As I laid in the hospital with my soon-to-be husband while he was getting his second pint of a blood transfusion, I remember feeling terrified. I remember sitting there thinking about the possibility of losing him, and honestly, there's no words to describe that feeling. When someone you love is going through something very serious, your mind can start going to the worst places. You're thinking about all the possible outcomes and what could go wrong. You rarely think about what could go right. I think that's such a human response. Our brains are designed to protect us. They want to prepare us for danger. They want to look ahead and figure out what could go wrong. But also in that moment, I felt something else. I felt peace. And the only way that I can explain it is that I knew that God had the final say. I knew that no matter what the doctor said, no matter what the situation looked like in front of me, there was still something greater that I just couldn't see yet. And instead of assuming the worst outcome, I chose to assume the best outcome. I chose to believe that he was going to be okay and that all of his test results would come back clear. I chose to believe that this moment wasn't something that was just happening to us, but something that could teach us something. And the story I chose to focus on is not, this is the beginning of something terrible. I chose to focus on, this is a wake-up call. This is a reminder. This is a reminder to slow down, a reminder that life is precious, and most of all, a reminder that we should take care of our bodies. And looking back now, I realized that perspective completely changed the way that I experienced that moment, because the situation in itself was still very scary. I wasn't pretending that I wasn't scared. I was terrified. I was still emotional. I was still worried. But underneath all of that, there was still this sense of trust. I had this sense of trust that God was with us, and I trusted that we would get through whatever came next. And that ended up being exactly what happened. It became our wake-up call. He was all right, y'all. But I think a lot of us have moments in life where we look back and realize, wow, I interpreted that situation completely different from how I view it now. Looking back now, some of the most hardest seasons of my life has also been the most transformative. And not because they were easy, because they weren't, but they forced me to look at myself differently. They forced me to slow down and ask questions that I probably wouldn't have asked otherwise. And I think that's something that we don't always recognize. Sometimes we're so focused on wanting a situation to change that we don't actually stop and ask, what can I learn from this situation? What is this moment showing me? And most of all, how can this help me grow into the woman that I'm trying to become? Because sometimes the hardest moments reveals things about us. They can reveal where we need more patience or trust. It can reveal where we may be holding on to fear, or where we've been holding on to things that no longer serve us. And I think this applies to so many different areas in life. Maybe you didn't get the job you wanted. Maybe your relationship ended. or maybe you're in a season where you feel like everything is falling apart. And I'm not saying that you have to immediately find the positive in it. Sometimes things hurt, sometimes we need time to process things. But eventually, we have to ask ourselves, what story am I choosing to create around this? Because the story that we attach to our circumstances influences how we choose to move forward. For a long time, I viewed certain things in my life as evidence that something was wrong. If something didn't work out, I thought maybe I wasn't good enough. If I struggled with something, I thought maybe that was just me. But over time, I started realizing that maybe those moments weren't proof that I was failing. Maybe they were opportunities for me to grow. Maybe they were showing me where I needed to change. Maybe they were helping me become someone that I couldn't have become without those experiences. And that shift in perspective changes everything about the way that you move through life. Because instead of constantly asking, why is this happening to me? You start asking, what is this teaching me? That question alone can completely change the way that you approach challenges. One thing I've also realized is that our perspective is connected to the beliefs that we have about ourselves. Because the way that we see the world is often influenced by the way that we see ourselves. If deep down you believe that you're not capable, you're going to interpret challenges differently. You might see an obstacle and think, see, I knew I couldn't do this. But if you actually believe that you were someone who could learn, you were someone who could grow, someone who can figure things out, that same obstacle becomes something that you can work through. And this is actually a lot of the work I talk about in my Inner Glow workbook. It's about becoming aware of the beliefs that you're carrying, understanding where they come from, and intentionally creating a new way of showing up for yourself. Because sometimes we're living based on old stories that we don't even realize we're still believing. And if you're someone who wants support with that, my Inner Glow community is also launching soon. It's going to be a space for women who are working on themselves, growing together, and learning how to become more aligned with who they truly are. And of course, if you're looking for more personalized support, that is also something that I offer in my one-on-one coaching. But even outside of any resource or support, I think the first step is simply becoming aware. Becoming aware of the lens that you're looking through, because we all have a lens. We all have stories that we've created and beliefs that interpret the way that we experience the world. So I want to leave you with this question. How are you viewing your life right now? Are you viewing it through fear? Are you viewing it through old experiences? Or are you assuming the worst because of maybe something that has happened in the past? Or are you allowing yourself to believe that maybe things are working out in ways that you can't see yet? Because sometimes the situation doesn't need to change first. Sometimes the first thing that needs to change is the way that we're looking at it. That's something that I'm learning every single day. I don't have it all figured out. I definitely still have fears that come up. I still have moments where I remind myself to zoom out and look at the bigger picture. But that's all a part of being human. It's about catching yourself, coming back to yourself, and choosing a perspective that is supporting the person that you're becoming. So I would love to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever experienced a moment that felt difficult at the time, but you later realized that it was a turning point in your life? I would love to hear your story, and if this video resonated with you, make sure you hit that subscribe button, make sure you like, comment, do all of that good stuff to keep this going. Thank you so much for spending this time with me, and I'll see you in the next video.